Candy or Candace Tatro. It's August 10th. Candy, give us some background about how you came to the college, where you're from, just orientation leading you up to your first day of employment.
Oh, of employment? Because I was a student first.
Why don't you expand on that? Yeah.
Yeah. I came here from Rockville High in 1967. And because in the business program at Rockville High, Margaret Hart was the head of the department. Alan Gates was working under her, and Pat Burns, too. She was Patty Perlato then. She was my first typing teacher. Anyway, Miss Hart gave us girls a lecture in stenography class. She was very proud of her business program, and she said, you know, any one of you can go to Aetna or Travelers and get a job tomorrow, a good job. She says, but there's a community college that opened up in Manchester, and I think you should go over there and take, she didn't think we should take secretarial science classes. I did because that was the easy route, because I wasn't much of a student. She says, I think you should go over there and take geography and history because you're going to be working for very intelligent men. That's what she said. And we all accepted it. And so I did end up here, but that wasn't the reason. The real reason is I really didn't want to work full-time at that point. I was still, you know, I wanted to play around. And so I came to school, and then that's where I learned to study, here. And I took secretarial science, graduated in '69. And the second year I was here, I started as a work-study student. And I worked for Eleanor Coltman on the shade tobacco growing project. She was so thankful to have an assistant at a typer. She was so good to me. And I worked at the East Center Street building with Rita Boudreau and Rachel Michaud. And the art department was there, and Dick Day and Dick Vizard. They were so happy to get offices. It was a nice time to be around. Yeah.
So was that where the registrar's office was?
Admissions and public relations was there, but I don't think the registrar's office was there.
All right.
Yeah.
So expand, and then you went from there into employment at the college.
Eleanor recommended me to, well, my dad was a state employee, and he thought I should take the state exam to work for the state no matter what. And when I graduated, I had two choices. I did take the state exam, Steno 3, I think it was at the time, and passed it. And then Eleanor recommended me to Jim, who was the director of Division of Social Science, because that's the division she was in. He was approved to have a secretary, so that's how I got that job. And I had a choice between MCC or Rensselaer Polytech. I had an interview with them, and they asked me to go there. And I remember saying to my father, who strongly recommended I work for the state at that time, I don't know if I like this guy. I don't know if I want to work for him. And I ended up marrying him.
Can you talk about the early days and your recollections of the people, of the environment, what you recall?
Well, the environment, I wasn't a big joiner of things. I did type like one time for the student newspaper, which Bob Richardson still remembers, that me typing in that room. It was on like an IBM Selectric typewriter. And I don't even know why I did that. I wasn't like member of the Future Secretaries Club, but there was a lot of clubs and organizations in 1969 on campus, which was really amazing since, you know, it started in '65 and they were active. And because I was working two jobs plus coming to school full time, two part-time jobs, so I didn't really have time. Like I said, I needed to really study. My first semester, I got straight C's. That's even in shorthand typing that I was already proficient in. So I gave myself one more semester, and then it kind of clicked. Yeah.
Now, okay, so you started working for Jim Tatro in the business. Now, that was been not the business career, the history.
Social science,
social
public
science.
service. Yeah, but going back to your other question, there was a lot of guys here at the time because of Vietnam was on. At that time, you had to do 2 years of service somehow, I think. And so but you were exempt if you went to college. So men, especially guys, were going to school so they could be exempt from the draft. And so there was a lot of fun.
Oh, that it was, yeah.
Yeah, the ratio was good. And 3 or 4 of my girlfriends from Rockville High in that secretarial program came over too. So we used to come to school together, and it was fun.
Okay. So take us beyond. You started working there then in the social science division. Then what?
One of my greatest experiences. Well, I remember in Harford Road, when you walk in the Harford Road building, there's a big stairway and it goes two ways. And to go to the right, you go to the social science and public service. And I don't know for what reason, there was admissions and registrars was on the first floor then. A guy, I heard this huge noise huge. It sounded like a jet plane. And a fellow came in the front steps with his Harley, all the way up the steps and right in front of my desk, which was a door over 2 file cabinets. We were all so it was so ghetto. We had nothing, but it was a happy time. Yeah. And he stopped right in front of my desk and he asked some kind of student question. It was really weird. Those kind of things happened.
Now I know Jim went on to serve as dean of continuing education. Mm-hmm. I assume you moved at the same time that he did? Or?
Yeah, I was given a choice then. Okay. There were quite a few people on campus who were married and working here. And things changed after that. I don't think they allowed it very much after that. And I don't even know really why, because it really did seem to work in 90% of the cases. Bob Manning, Doreen Manning, there's a lot of them. And I was given a choice. I could have stayed in social science and public service or go with this new division when they started the community services. And Diane McCutch was given the choice too, I think. And we both went. Frank Crowley, who later went on to other community colleges. So we were glad we did because the work was different, it was varied. But when I was a secretary in social science, it was wonderful. And Rachel Michaud had the same experience when she worked for humanities years later. Everybody, it was like one big family, a lot of respect and lots of fun with all the faculty. And
So instead you were thrust into a rather hostile environment?
With community services? No, I had to work with you later.
Oh, I know. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But go ahead. Yeah, so where was continuing education located and
I think,
what was the evolution?
My memory's not great, but I think the first year of it, we went from the East Campus back to Harford Road so we could have space. And that's where we were housed. Drug and alcohol program was housed with us because that was like an all 12 school thing, or it was morphing into that at that time. Grants writing, Tom Bevere was brought on as a grants writer at that time. So, and he was good at it. Bruce DeTora, he was brought on. Barry Sheckley, all those people went on to really great positions in higher ed.
Were you given any responsibilities outside of clerical?
Slowly. And then by the time we moved back to the East Campus, in Faculty East, I think, then my assignment changed to an educational administrator with non-credit programs. And that was fun, too. I assisted, phone calls and the logistics of the whole thing. And that's when Nancy Haw was brought in as Jim's secretary.
Okay. Talk to me about Speakers Bureau.
Well, that's when that started, the Speakers Bureau. That was one of my responsibilities, and that continued on down the road when I went into public relations with you, part of, the work there. And that consisted of drumming up speakers from the faculty and from the community who were interested in going out to any group that called on a subject of their choice, basically. And then fielding the calls from the public when they came in, like, the Rotary used us quite a bit, as they did in the early years. Dr. Lowe spoke there a lot. Who can we have a speaker for this month's program? And I'd say, well, how about Bill Vincent on outhouses? Because that's what he used to speak on. This was later, but that's kind of how, and it grew to a pretty good size.
Now, who started the Speakers Bureau?
I don't remember.
So you just picked it up in midstream? Is that it?
Yeah, it must have been. I don't remember how that started. Yeah.
So you went from continuing education to
you were working in theater, and you were teaching, and then you were offered this public relations,
That was it.
and you were also in continuing ed,
doing non-credit programs, but then
pulling together the non-credit.
Then I bumped over to public relations.
Yeah, and public relations was going to conclude Alumni Association, so you asked, would I come over there? So I said, I don't know, Chuck, I don't want to fundraise. I hate fundraising. I hate it. You don't have to do any fundraising. What a lie.
Did, yeah. Of our own volition. But, so tell me, I mean, I just need to know the genesis of the Alumni Association.
The start, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, how did it get where it got to? And it was a fairly ambitious program.
It was, yeah. Yeah, I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
I was proud of how it developed, and some of it's just dumb luck. We started early on. Well, I had the support of the department. We started right away doing a newsletter. I have to get all those alumni newses together. John Harrison did it. Remember, we weren't too happy with how professional and dry it was. So we worked on that, and Steve Casano had attempted to maintain a mailing list of alumni and do some alumni events. I think he got a course reduction originally to kind of do that, and he handed it over and worked well, with us on it. Anything we needed, he would do. And the first year, it was really, I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought, well, we'll start from the early years and work up. But I later learned, I don't know if I learned too late or not, you start from the current year and work back. That's how you do it. You get the people on campus interested in it and then work back from there. But we did grow to, I had several meetings. I was trying to set up a board, people that were interested, and I'd call meetings and do little receptions and stuff, and they weren't that well attended. And then one evening meeting that we came, it's funny how groups have certain chemistry, and all you need is a leader there or one person, and Barbara Barrett was there. And I just said to this group that was there in exacerbation, I said, we've been working for a couple of years to try and get a board, and we're not successful. I said, the college will take away our funding if this doesn't take off. That's all there is to it. And we'll just, whatever, we'll use the money somewhere else in our college. And Barbara Barrett, she was such a good leader and so well-spoken, the little pit bull, She said, I'll be the president, but only for 2 years. And that's exactly what she was, the president for only 2 years. But boy, she whipped us into shape. Yeah. And she set the foundation for the next 15 years. Okay. Yeah.
What were the kinds of activities that the Alumni Association was involved with during your tenure?
Well, one of the things was, we went to you soon after they formed. What do you want us to do, Chuck? And you said, I want you to do an activity, or at least one activity, that brings people to campus. That's what we need. So that's why we started the craft fair. And we did that, I think, for, 15 years, 14 years, something like that. So we did a craft fair, and it was successful. People came, and that's what we wanted. And it also raised money for us. And what else did we do? You remember.
You did the newsletter, obviously.
Oh, the newsletter.
You did do phonathons. I mean, I don't think that was your...
That was Barbara's idea.
Yeah.
And we did become a 501c3, which was a big accomplishment. Yeah. I don't know whether that was a right or wrong thing to do, but that's what the direction they wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And our board was solid and real. It was not, just a front.
I know you're proud of that.
I was.
You deserve it. What other activities were you engaged in during that time?
Well, we always funded...
Besides the Alumni Association.
Oh, 3 other things.
Unless there's something you want to talk about.
No, I mean, I'm not remembering them all, but there was a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah. You did do, as I recall, banquets and recognition.
We did every year.
Yeah.
Alumni, starting from the first year we were there. Yeah. And, those things take time to, and I was part-time at this point, part-time, Alumni Affairs, the Speakers Bureau, and room reservations for the campus, plus Alumni News, working in the PR area. So it was a lot of work at that time. The problem, like many jobs, around here is, well, grants writing is a good example. If you're going to have a grants writer, you need to give that person time and space to actually bring some grants in. You can't say, do grants and also do alumni affairs and do this and that. So it doesn't usually work, or it takes longer.
What other responsibilities did you have in that tenure, in our tenure together, as it were?
Those three, that's it. I think that's it.
Let's talk about wine auction.
Oh.
I don't think you had a small part of it.
Well, by the time the wine auction was assigned, Speakers Bureau was gone. Dr. Dobby kind of put that on. He didn't care for it. So, and room reservations, that responsibility was gone, which was a big responsibility. So, yes, the wine auction. And that was a lot of work entering into that database. And, you know, over the years, we've been dealing with mailing lists and databases over and over and over. Same wheel. It's probably still the same problems.
Anything else in that period that you recall?
No.
Okay. Can you talk about individuals that you have fond memories of, or you want to be sure or refer to? You've alluded to some of them to sort of.
Oh, definitely Nancy Ha. I did end up working for her in the Registrar's office 3 years before I retired, which was great, totally different thing to do, and a lot of fun. And Nancy, so competent, so quiet. She just went along and did things. Kind of an unsung hero. She worked very hard. Ray Strickland, when she first came to public relations, and what a background, And I don't know if her and I had it takes me a while to get to know people, but we formed a strong bond and had a lot of good times. Yeah. And years ago, way back in community service, I don't know if you worked with Gary Van Boris.
Yeah.
So funny. So, a lot of fun to work with them, Bev Perna. And Gary was drug and alcohol, which was a very always interesting program. And, we're doing the research for and Bob Manning just came to surface. And, I took a course with Bob, I don't know, late 80s, when I decided to get my bachelor's in appreciation of modern art. And, wow, what an eye-opener. Not only in the whole area, but how hard he really works. And it was for the love of art. And it grew into, he really loves the college, too. And I think he's just the most misunderstood individual on campus,
Why would you say that? I mean, I agree with you.
Because he looks fierce.
Yeah.
I mean, those piercing blue eyes, and then the black hair. And his art was so avant-garde to us. I'll tell you a funny story if we have time.
No,
At our
I
10-year...
was about to lead you to humor, but go ahead.
Our 10-year anniversary at the college, he did a special art exhibit. And then in the little booklet that came out, like a yearbook, he's standing next to the picture of this face with the big snakes coming out of the mouth, and it's like the bonehead, And I said to him, Bob, this is way before I really knew him, wonderful picture of you, except you're standing next to the most god-awful picture. He said, oh, that's my self-portrait. And he didn't laugh. I said, oh. Years later, I learned what it meant, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But he forgave me over the years.
Any other humorous anecdotes?
Oh, plenty. I don't know how many I should share.
Well, stick your neck out then.
I don't know. I think there's so many funny ones. I won't mention a name on this one, but it is pretty funny. One of my coworkers, a secretarial coworker, and I were sitting in an office, the two of us in the office. I actually had an inside office at that point, but we didn't get along that well, and I think she has issues. I don't know if they were with me or whatever, but the phone rang, and in an effort to grab it, I reached for the phone, and I went to sit down, and the chair went out, and I went right down on the floor. Big crash. She never even looked my way. Not a how, are you okay or anything. It's like, she didn't miss a beat. It's like, jeez. It was really, I think that was funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Talk about the 30th anniversary. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. You and I and Ray worked so hard on that. Oh, but it was a lot of fun. And again, it was like, let's do this anniversary. It'll be fun. It won't be hard. And the funny part of that, well, you gave me the responsibility. There was like a 3-ring circus on campus. That's how you described it. And Ray was kind of in charge of the entertainment aspect of it. And I was in charge of bringing the food caterers in, which I did. And the 3 of us would go around and meet with all in-college constituents and city constituents. And one of those visits was to the fire department to let them know we're having this event and what do we need to do. We didn't want any trouble, make sure. And we were hoping, because the many people would come. So we were, working on that premise too. And we went over everything with the fire chief of the town. That was months before the event. The event came, and that morning the food vendors are setting up. Of course, that's the area I'm wringing my hands over. And the fire marshal showed up, the same chief we were talking to, in his full dress. He says, this is no good. This isn't going to work. I literally took the man by the lapels and brought him down. So we went over this. You said it was going to be fine. And he kind of backed up. But it did turn out to be a good event, good community event. I love the picture that, I think Ray ended up with, she bought the picture from the newspaper that we put in. And I think we have a good history of it. Richie Havens was here. That was the big and entertainment. Yeah. You thought it was fun, right, didn't you?
Oh, I thought it was fabulous. Yeah. What about Remax? What did they do?
Remax. I don't remember. Oh, the hot air balloon? Yeah. The hot air balloon was here. And Cox Cable was very good to us. They sent over characters, and some people dressed up. We had Ren and Stimpy and Madeline, and we had little kiddie rides. We had a lot of fun planning it. Yeah.
Are there any things that I might not have called your attention to that you want to talk about?
Oh, geez, Chuck. I don't know. 30 years? Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
When did you retire?
I think 2002.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there was somebody coming in for job interviews, clerical, for example, or somebody who didn't quite know what he or she was going to do, would you give that person, what advice would you give that particular person in terms of you're coming to NCC and the person says, I don't know what I should do, how I should think, how I should feel. Is there any advice you give that individual based on your personal experiences?
I would advise them to take advantage of, all the intellect that's around them, and to take advantage of the free programs and the faculty who are always very friendly and generous, with the clerical staff, and to do that, and to continue going on to school if they're only on a 2-year, to go ahead, go see about going on. That's the 2 pieces of advice I would give them, and to work hard. Yeah.
Now, you were a young mother during that time.
Mm-hmm.
How did that work out in terms of your job commitments and obviously little children?
Mm-hmm. Well, Jamie, my oldest, went to the daycare at Center Congregational Church, and then Phil later went to the daycare here. So it worked out okay. I went from full-time to part-time for a number of years, and then back to full-time later. So it was great.
You were able to balance that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have nothing else. You have one last shot before we call it quits.
I don't know.
All right. Thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.